Jewish Weekly, 1949. And they're speaking of nationality cards, so we're going to go over this. Jews not white Americans according to St. Louis rules. Jewish Telegraphic Agency, 1949. Jews are not considered white Americans in a newly adopted police identification system in St. Louis. Washington Jewish sources are seething with indignation over an official affront to American Jews on the part of the police department of St. Louis. With the approval and cooperation of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the old St. Louis Rogues Gallery has been replaced by a highly efficient modern IBM key punch card system. Under this system, a perforation is made on line 2 of the card if the arrested person happens to be Jewish. However, a white American has his card punched on line 5 of the same column. We already went through a demonstration with this because I followed and found the card that the NOI used, and they was copying off of Noble Drew Ali. And it said on the card, if the bearer of this card has been found unrighteous, please return him and the card to the temple. Then you would be returned back to the temple, and then the temple would enforce their law because you're under their jurisdiction. Americans of Jewish faith are thus listed separately from other Americans by the records section of the St. Louis Police Department. A spokesman for the FBI described St. Louis' new system as the most progressive in the country. Law enforcement officials have predicted that the St. Louis system will ultimately be adopted by police departments on a national basis. The religion of Jews is listed on these cards, although there is no record kept on the religious preference of Catholics or Protestants. With the recent murder of 6 million Jews in Europe, this listing is viewed with a note of alarm and resentment. Should the cards fall in the wrong hands, it would only be necessary to set the IBM card selector unit for line 2 of the appropriate category, and the cards of all Jews would be instantly available. These cards bear fingerprints, photos, and all possible clues to identification. Police officers booking a criminal would make a conscious distinction as to whether the man was a white American or Jewish, and that's because if it said Moorish, they wouldn't take him to this jail. They'd take him back to the temple. Distinction. But they're not white Americans anyway, man. They're still playing a caste system, but Noble Drew Ali has the nationality on the card. No doubt the St. Louis police system will give great pleasure to Gerald L.K. Smith, who makes his headquarters in the city, and to Smith's Christian Nationalist Crusade, which only recently held an anti-Semitic convention there. Credit for the system has been bestowed upon Lieutenant Andrew Young Andy Griffith and Barney Fife Aylward, presumably a white American of the St. Louis Police. Young Andy is the son of a late assistant police chief and holds the modest title of Commander of Bureau of Records. A Jew might be a Native American who served in the Army and perhaps won a couple Purple Hearts, but to the St. Louis Police, he is still not a white American. He is Jewish. The designation Jewish appears on the card under the heading Nationality. Although nationality in question is obviously American. See, the man, Noble Drew Ali was ahead of his time. They were still thinking the continent was the nationality. Perhaps the explanation is that the term Jewish is used for purpose of physical identification of a type. If so, there is no listing for the Anglo-Saxon, Scandinavian, Irish, Muslim, Japanese, or even Teutonic type. Because they got their own card. You're supposed to have your own card like Noble Drew Ali did 15 years before this. Until a couple of years ago, FBI wanted posters advertising rewards for criminals at large, sometimes added Jewish to the description. This practice was discontinued when it was pointed out that the posters never specified Catholic or Protestant. Now, in appropriate cases, Jews are described as Near Eastern. Near Eastern. What the... And what is Middle Eastern, Near Eastern, or Levantine in appearance? A description set out by a self-claimed sheriff in the South not so long ago described a fugitive as a New York Jewish type. The culprit in question turned out to be neither Jewish nor New Yorker. FBI recognition of the new system, which creates an artificial distinction between Jews and white Americans, is shocking and disgusting matter. As a matter of fact, an FBI spokesman noted that St. Louis police force was one of the most up-and-coming departments in the country and that St. Louis officers were high-type men, and it is a pleasure to do business with them. Before national standardization of identification cards take place, modification is certainly in order. So let's go through the conclusion, brothers and sisters. Noble Drew Ali was ahead of his time. He started that nationality card. He said it was going to change in your pocket, right? And then you have the brother C.M. Bay that had it in the Library of Congress. And then the Moors try to bury it, and you can't find that nationality card because they want to use it. But again, these mercenaries will stop you and say you was found other than righteous, which would be hard to do. That's a big claim. Just saying you committed a crime is different than you saying that you've been found other than righteous, because that's divine salvation, man. You saying I broke my covenant with the law and my prophet, that the laws that he set down, let's go see. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It's for your salvation. So a European come up to you demanding it, that's not flashing it, which makes me think of the Real ID Act that they be speaking about. These states still have extensions because they haven't had their cards up to date for this long. You can't even get on a plane. Islam, divine honors the Prophet Noble Drew Ali and the Moorish divine and national movement of the world.